Hello and welcome back to the St Andrews dock here in Hull, which you might remember we visited a few months ago. We've looked at the dock already. And of course we've looked at the former Lord Iron office. So for today, we'll just be popping next door to this other old piece standing just 50 metres away. This former pump building was the first part of the site I explored when I originally visited back in 2018. A bit strange that I left it this long to pop in again, don't you think? That could be because someone's been watching me all this time though. I won't break anything, promise you. Coming into this first door on the left. Seems like someone's been enjoying a good smoke recently. Climb those entirely at your own peril, my friends. Escaping unwelcoming eyes there. And as we come out, we've got an unwelcoming doorway. Nice set of lilac bushes here, brightening up this otherwise dank and dreary void. And we do have a generous amount of sun today, in contrast to March's visit. Still, at least the windows are relatively more painless to see out of nowadays. And so you have my terrible joke for the day completed. Meanwhile, through here, we have the industrial vegetation made of iron, which is more what we're here to see. Absolutely unsure for definite what these were, but I can tell you that this building was a massive mechanism itself, generating the power to drive the massive lock gates in St Andrews Dock. Still a good bit of blue on them, given that they were in use till about the 1960s or 70s. If I don't mind my footing around here, it might well be a few eras before I'm finally discovered. This magnificent box standing over in the corner here was obviously a majorly integral part of the machinery in this whole pump house. Seems to be no levers left behind for me to fiddle with. Though probably they would come off in my hand with the rust if any still existed. Obviously some hoses or pipes of some sort, given this was a hydraulic neck. A relatively less complex understructure here. Possibly a bit of electrical circuitry, judging by those holes there, unless they had their own little private beehive. Look down the bottom, it's really like a little phone box here, isn't it? I said next door. Well, we're going to have to go next door still for the rest of it. Did a little bit of iron triangle in the ground there. And various other lids and manholes all over the place awaiting as we step by and into the second door. That's just a reflection from the light above, by the way. Nothing magic. I've just noticed that this hatch in the floor here on the left actually adjoins very slightly with what we've been looking at next door. Got to have a look at the one on the other side as well. You know I don't cheat. As you can just see down in the left, things are even more watery at this side. And there's likely to be a darn sight more than just water in that mixture. We're out in the open yet again and have to go around to door number 3 for the rest of this one, unfortunately. Well, just through a gap in the railings actually. But we get probably the most telling view all morning so far. Spotting the sorry remains of a flight of steps on the left as we come in. I've got a story to tell you in a moment. Another way down to the still dark and still watery depths. But there may have been some steps once. We make our way through into what was some sort of maintenance or vehicle doorway, most likely. Sort of wood, tree, steel panelling, rotting iron, and a rather short doorway as well. Still some relatively antique looking window ironwork. As we move both our sets of eyes above us, you may notice a small mezzanine style deck up above. And on the right, what remains of a banister. Do you remember those steps lying on the floor we just spotted? Yes, those ones again, just to remind you. I had a little bit of an accident here when I visited again in October 2021. One blustery morning in October 2021, I popped in here for a quick bit, and these stairs were actually then still standing where this little bit of banister now hangs. Although they still did happen to reach right down to the floor back on that occasion. Unfortunately, that didn't quite literally include the steps though. And me being me, believed I could climb up the side using the membrane to get to that first step up still available. Which seemed feasible at first, but I'd forgotten to eradicate the mud from the sole of my trainer, which was already about half an inch thick, and an inch wide slat of wood angled at 45 degrees versus nearly completely wet mud with the weight of a 5'10" man on top of it is not a good equation. I came crashing down to earth again, almost vertically, but luckily sustaining nothing worse than a cut right finger injury wise. But we warned everyone, you might not be as lucky if you have a go yourselves. So take my advice and stay on the solid floor. And speaking of solid floor, we've still got a bit more of that to walk now as we wander around the other side. Well, solid floor plus a slight bit more garden on top than I first anticipated. Something concretey that supported the post here once. You can see in the sunlight there's a tubular socket. Stepping into this part of the shed, we've got the best bit yet. Ta-da! A much bigger, though I'm not sure if much more stable version of that bit we've just stepped out of. Various countless panels here that could possibly have been part of the mezzanine straight up there. We've still got some stairs this time, though still not safe. You could probably make out that there's been attempts to use this place for other things in past decades, but for understandable reasons, nothing ever materialised. Maybe a chain gang did operate here after all once. As to make up for not being able to get up there myself and DavExplore, I'll let the camera do that by itself. Anyway, with that short little explore finished, it's time to be getting out of the weeds once more and back to the solid floor again. Once we eventually find some, you know, I think this should do. Don't fall off any dangerous stairs yourself. Subscribe, stay on the ground floor, and that's where I shall meet you for the next video. All the best. Ahoy there, me barnacles. Sorry to say this, but your little friend Dave's just gone and stumbled into one of our trawlers. If you want to see him again, or any of those stupid videos he makes, you best be subscribing to his channel sharpish, because I warn you, terrible things happen at sea nowadays.